Programs Roundtable. I am Andrew Doyle. I'm the coordinator of recreation at Southern New Hampshire University. I'll let our co-host introduce himself as well.
Thanks, Andrew. I am Chris Crume, and I am the director of the Aquatic Center at Denison University. It's great to be with y'all again here on April 2nd. And what at least here in Ohio is a beautiful spring day for us. So I am going to go ahead and throw up the slides real fast. Get that. If you want to chat for a second here, Andrew, I'll get
Sure. Well, thank you. I see some familiar faces from last week, some from our Regional 1 Small Programs Roundtable yesterday. Thank you all for joining us. And here we go with our slideshow. We're going to start off with a couple rules that we go over. This will look familiar to some of you, but it's just to make sure that we are having a positive and constructive conversation today. First one is positivity. Let's focus on what we control, what we can fix, the good in things. With everything, all the uncertainty and all the negativity in the world, we want to make sure that we're not giving into that, and we're trying to make our situations as good as we possibly can. Let's be creative as we can. Try and help each other out. If you have an awesome idea for a program or a policy or an issue that you're facing, share it with the group. That's why we're here. We're here to share. And then let's focus on, one of the main reasons that we do what we do. It's for the students. Let's make sure we're focusing on them and taking that into consideration.
Absolutely. It's interesting. So I was actually talking with a colleague just this past week in between sessions, and, my advice to him was, it's really not just about what we do right now when we open back up. It's really about how do we make ourselves visible now and serve our students now. By doing that and being adaptable, we can really show that we can overcome and make ourselves a little bit more valuable to our institutions. So you'll keep that in mind as we're talking about the different topics today. So.
A lot of the things we're going to talk about today are things that we either didn't get a chance to get to last time or questions that people brought up. I think these 3 questions here were submitted by Andy Milton, so thank you for submitting those. So let's start off the bat. As you may remember, one of our rules is to keep it positive, and this is going to be a difficult conversation, but we can definitely get through this. We have the power. So the first question off the bat is: anyone experiencing potential temporary furloughs? What are you doing to reassure your staff during this time? That's something that we've been talking a lot about at SNHU. Just like, what do we do if this happens? How do we be prepared? I know the other day on our council call, I know Rachel Finley was bringing up some potential, things you do be prepared that anyone can do, whether you are expecting it or not, because in times like this, it's better to be prepared for something that never happens than not be prepared for something that does. So, just having those resources and finding ways that you can help your staff through this is kind of what we're going to focus on here. Biggest fear is the unknown. That is definitely true. That is also one of my biggest fears in general. Thank you for sharing that, Daniel. Some things that we've looked into, and this is things that I've started to research after our call the other day. And for anyone that has ideas, questions, or things to contribute about this, feel free to throw it right in the chat, and we'll try and pull some key ideas up and give you guys all a chance to speak. Just researching what options are available for people that are furloughed. How can we help? Whether it's, if student employees aren't able to work right now, are they eligible for employment? Getting familiar with the rules in our state of what they need to do to get through that. So when we have those difficult conversations, that what you're talking about, and you can give them the resources they need right off the bat. So that's something I would recommend to anyone that may need to. One of the comments we're seeing here at Santa Clara University: it is not the potential of losing staff, it is losing revenue from summer camp. We do not get an operating budget from the university, and this is a huge worry for me. No camp, no money to run the program. I think that's something that a lot of people are dealing with right now, small programs and big programs alike. Chris, what are your thoughts on this first question?
Yeah, for us, as a university right now, we're not we're not experiencing, temporary furloughs yet. That's something that I know the administration is looking at. They're really trying to avoid that. So for us, it's more about how do we control costs and how do we control spending right now so that that's not something we have to do. But, just like, Janice at Santa Clara, we're also, concerned about losing revenue. Summer for us is a big time to generate revenue from camps, from rentals, from reservations, from events. We don't know, we don't know when we're going to be able to open back up, and then what those social distancing guidelines will look like. Would we be able to have a practice in one of our facilities for a club team? Is that something that's possible? So it's the furloughs are, I think, a part of it, but then again, you're looking at the total revenues and how that might impact as well. And that's kind of where we're at as a university. For us, especially with our student staff, back in early March when we had to start, shutting everything down, we started to get out the unemployment resources to our staff and to our students, letting them know, hey, check these sites to see if you qualify. Here's the resources that are available. Here's what's available from the university. Go out, check it. We can't tell you what exactly you're eligible for, but these are the resources that are available to you.
For sure. One thing to note about the topic of summer camps, there's a roundtable later today on April 9th. Definitely check that out if that is something you are dealing with or just want to learn more about summer camps. Somebody mentioned that hopefully the school would help out if you are in a situation like Santa Clara University. And this is a point where I would definitely stress communicating with your administration, see what their expectations are, see what their plans are, try and be a part of that conversation so that you can advocate for yourself and your program. I think having that line and making sure that you don't get lost in the shuffle is important. Obviously, don't be almost obtrusive to whatever project they're working on at this time, but make sure that you're known and you're here. And that kind of goes for, making sure that with the programming that we're doing, focusing on students and still doing things here. We were talking before we went live of making sure that we're not using this time as, just some time to relax and just stay home and not do anything, still being productive and showing that you have the ability to be a part of this new world that we're in right now is a key. And that's why we're trying to do some new virtual programming, and that's why everyone is so awesome right now sharing all these resources.
Yeah, and again, I think looking at revenues, just looking, Janice is talking about advocating, and if she could come on real fast and just kind of talk about the challenges that they are facing, and if there are some solutions that you might have for this group on how we can all work together to make sure we can shore up our budgets or figure that out.
I'm laughing because I don't know if I have all the answers. So obviously, it is a trying time. We are on the quarter system, so we actually just started on Monday a new quarter, which I think makes it a little bit unique, where it's not like we were in the semester and all of a sudden closed the residence halls halfway through. Like, we had a quarter's worth of rent that we just gave back to all of the students because we kicked them out. For our program, it's advocating. We have a document. It's called the critical dates and numbers. And so, yes, camp is on there. If we don't have camp this summer, it's after expenses for camp, it's $87,000 that we would have profited, which then services the intramural t-shirts and all of the other things that we do. So I think the challenge for all of us right now is, following the university rules, which right now we're not spending. Because my operating budget is revenue based, that means I'm losing $60K that's sitting there ready to be spent on fitness equipment or whatever. But again, to be a team player, you roll with what's happening, and that is you cannot spend any more of your money. There's no transfers to reserve, which is where my extra revenue would have gone. And the student employees, we're not allowed to have them work right now either, because again, that's $100K sitting there that the university can use towards this 13 million. So it's hard sitting here and not being able to, we usually give our winter quarter staff champs a $25 gift card and a t-shirt. I can't give them any of that right now because we're on a spending freeze. And even though it would have totaled $200, my supervisor said, no, we can't. And we are a private school. So I think that adds a different challenge as well. We've had some students ask about getting their rec fee back. And so I've had to say, no, I'm sorry, there is no rec fee. So yeah, and it's just, yeah, making sure that your upper administration knows what your challenges you're facing. And then some of it is being a team player at the same time.
100%. You know, just looking at, you know, as we're talking through, you know, revenues and, you know, revenue shortfalls, you know, there was the stimulus bill that was just passed last week. God, the weeks are kind of blending together at this point, but there are going to be some resources, I think, available for that. So I think it would behoove all of us to kind of take a look at that and see, you know, what resources might be available. You know, I think obviously our universities are taking, you know, a very hard look at that, but at least for us, you know, I've seen that come up in the chat here a couple times. That is something that will hopefully, you know, be a boon, you know, when we're losing revenues, you know.
Is anybody else, you know, I think at this time, I don't think anyone has the right answer to what we're supposed to do right now. I think at this point, all we can do is share what are people doing. And from that, we will find, you know, what's common. So if there's anyone else in the chat that is dealing with similar things, feel free to either just jump right on and start speaking up or mention something in the chat. We are not revenue based at all at Southern Hampshire University in terms of our program, but we're still dealing with budget cuts and huge. We just had the conversation this morning. Actually, last week I was talking with our business manager, and I sat down with her. And I was like, well, sat down with her virtually over Zoom, and I was like, this is my first time since I got here that we're not going to have a budget cut. 1 week later, the biggest budget cut we've ever seen, barely able to operate everything in a new way. So that's just a new challenge we're going to have to deal with. But like you said, it's all about being a team player and making sure we can all get through this. And then from there, we'll know there's a light at the end of the tunnel and hopefully swing up. Joe Hoff just mentioned in the group chat, we are bracing for a 35% or so rec fee refund in loss of summer camp and summer rec fee. The university hasn't said anything about furloughs or freezing spending, but I am informing my staff today we are freezing spending voluntarily due to the unknown. And I think being proactive like you are being, Joe, is one of the best things you can do. Trying to stay ahead of what's going to be better be safe than sorry. And if you are ahead of the curve, you know, you've saved so much more money that you're not going to have to worry about down the line, or you can use it in other ways or something like that. So I think that's a great idea in every way, being proactive.
Hey, it's Janice again from Santa Clara. I think the other thing that is going to be the challenge for all of our institutions, especially since we're probably a majority of us at smaller colleges, is that in 2025, there was already supposed to be an admissions dip due to the birth rates and graduation rates. And so if we're already going to experience something in 2020, what is going to be the outcome in 2025? And I know for some extremely small colleges, we're going to probably end up seeing those get closed before this is over, which is just, it's a daunting thing to think about as we look at higher education across the country.
Yeah, that is a huge question that I am not necessarily poised, ready to answer, but it's definitely things that we need to talk about. And you're right, like we are worried about our programs in general as is, and this is just making us worry a little bit more and have to, you know, fight a new battle before we fight that big battle. You know, in my idealist mind, I just want to say take it day by day and fight the battle that's most important in front of you. And for us right now, it's COVID-19, and then figure out where we can go from there. But I mean, I'm open to any kind of feedback with that. Not to pivot away from this, but I definitely want to talk a little bit more about that. Some important tips I've seen in the chat are tracking what your staff is working on so that you can show that you're being productive. That's something that's come up on multiple calls. So some kind of work log so that when it comes to potential furloughs or that you can show this is what we've been working on, this is what we will continue to work on. Any kind of evidence you can have about the production you guys bring and the value your program brings is important. Christina Rodriguez just wrote in the chat, UTRGV. I don't know which school that is, but I can take
Rio
plenty of
Grande Valley.
guesses.
That's University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, I believe.
Chris knows his acronyms.
That is correct.
There we go. So you just started with 20 out of 110 employees on working with minimal hours as of Monday this week. But as of today, you're going to offer all 110 employees professional development opportunities with a max of 5 hours a week. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, Christina Rodriguez for UT Rio Grande Valley. And we just got a notice on Friday of, if you can find work for your employees, go ahead and do so. And so we started with just a minimum of 20 in scarcing. So it's a bit more of our marketing, our group exercise, personal trainers, of staff in that regard. And then as of yesterday, we were just told, okay, let's see if we can get all 110 employees working. That's our staff number. So if we were operational, we had 110 to, go into shifts. So we're keeping with those, and we're actually announcing it to the rest of our colleagues this afternoon's meeting to say, hey guys, here's our list, here's our form. I'm actually transcribing it into our Qualtrics, so it could be a digital form. So they'll go ahead and fill it out with the sessions they're attending from our list. They've all been identified with the amount of time that they're going to be allotted. So in this case, if they attended NIRSA, they get that hour plus additional 5 minutes to fill out the questions. And it's 3 questions, just saying, what did you learn? How is it? How can you bring it back into UREC? And what can you do with this after, out of school? So just to see that they're just reflective and putting, that time in there. But our institution is still so fluid that was just yesterday afternoon to get all 110 was something. And so we'll just see how it continues to grow.
And I think kind of going off of this, as I'm looking in the chat too, being productive and, developing, programs that, can produce some tangible results right now seems to be something that a lot of people have been asked to do from their universities. John Fay at Life University was talking a little bit about that, as well as Don at Augustana. I think I got that right. If you guys wouldn't mind jumping on real quick and just kind of tell us a little bit about what those, creative ideas are and, how that does keep your profile up.
I can talk a little bit about what Life is doing. So our campus engagement coordinator has made basically a virtual hangout spot. And since we're the Eagles, she calls it our nest. But it's a spot like this on Zoom where students can come and see virtual programming. So we've got a few of our fitness instructors who are work study, who already have those federal funds awarded to them. They're going to be doing programs and stuff online, but everything from student support services to career counseling to mental health counseling are going to be on, taking slots throughout the day. But then there's also things like they're doing Netflix watch parties where they can join in and watch everything that's going on in real time. So it's, we're trying to be very, very understanding that budget at this time is going to be, it's going to be lower because we're a small private institution. Everything is all student tuition funded. So it's being good stewards of that and not spending a whole lot of that money. And how can we engage our students at little to no cost in these times?
Yeah, doing things like that are very inexpensive and still provide people an opportunity to socialize and see other people is huge. And they're very easy for people to get a part of. And there's a lot of resources out there that are little to no cost, whether they're fitness-based or just social activities. Definitely recommend checking those out. The Netflix Party Chrome extension is a cool one that we put out there that a lot of students have been utilizing. Students are used to just being in their dorms and being able to have like a get together and watch movies. Now they can do that, from their own bed wherever they are. Zoom like hangout. We call it Student Lounge on campus. That's what our Office of Student Involvement is doing. It's an easy way to, one, just check in on the staff and students that you know. But that's an awesome opportunity. But there are a lot of like fitness-based opportunities out there as well. I mean, I know we just heard from Matrix Fitness yesterday. They put an awesome Matrix community app out there. Les Mills on Demand has had free classes for a long time. But I'm seeing a lot about the Zoom group fitness classes.
Yeah.
Who is doing those? How are those going? We are doing our first week of those now, and we are having actually more participation in these classes than we would on campus. And I think a lot of it's convenience-based and people being stuck inside maybe, and they just need something to do. But who's
Andrew,
trying these?
Andrew, this is Don at Augustana. Yeah, the Zoom classes have been popular because I think the fact that our student population and faculty and staff can connect with people they already know, obviously the existing staff members or the trainers, teachers. I mean, obviously there's a fee involved because I'm paying them to teach those classes, but we had some monies budgeted for that anyway. So we're able to utilize that. And I found that faculty and staff have really liked that continuing connection per se with individuals they already know. So that's been beneficial. And then obviously we're not reinventing the wheel here when we're, like we did the national trivia contest last night. We're going to try to do the trick shot event where they send in, all things that are not expensive. So, we're just trying to work within that. And it shows we're being, to our student leaders or leaders and professionals that we're being active on campus. And I think that's meeting our needs, at least from our point of view.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Don mentioned Recreation Without Borders. It's the trivia show every Wednesday. Definitely check that out. All you need is a Twitch account to play. It's pretty cool. There were, I think the peak number of participants was 1,060, which is awesome. Everyone did a great job setting that up. Flick did a great job hosting that. But yeah, one of the things I'm seeing, so a comment from Janice about fitness classes and insurance rules, that is something I definitely say look into. Make sure you're not going to get yourself in trouble by trying to provide a program. Some places only need to put a disclaimer on the page with the schedule. Some aren't allowed to do it at all. Make sure you're checking and going through the right channels when you do it, because it could come back and end up way worse than the positive intent you were trying to bring forward with it.
Yeah, I think, especially, when you're talking about the liability, that your general counsel is going to be your best bet, at least for a starting point on what's allowed and what's not allowed. That's something that we've worked with, and, going back to talking about, just doing Zoom classes. We're getting ready to start using Zoom. I was looking through the comments and somebody was talking about doing these live videos through Instagram or Facebook. And that's actually how we started doing our Zumba and Pilates and classes, but we actually crashed it out. So we are moving to a Zoom because it's going to be a little bit more stable. We had a lot of response to those. I think this is just another way for folks to stay engaged. Again, I want to get past the stereotype of social distancing. Like I said, I have been more social in these last few weeks than ever before. But more of just physically distancing myself from other folks instead. I think that's a more positive term. We're staying away from people, but still being social.
Exactly.
I actually have like a few questions. My name is Nisha. I'm from HCC, Houston Community College. The first question I have is for everyone that's actually doing fitness on Zoom, or if you're not doing fitness on Zoom, if you're just doing fitness in general, how exactly are you keeping track of your participation? And so that's one question. The second question that I have is anyone doing esports in regards to possibly doing gaming rooms? And how exactly did you go by setting them up? So for example, do you have like a Call of Duty game room for your students? Do you have like a Fortnite room? And then the last thing is, do you guys think that based off of all the programming that we're doing online, that we're going to have to possibly start doing that in the fall for all of our online students?
I think that answer, at least the last question there, I think everything we're doing now online is going to be a bonus when we come back to our normal. It's going to be additional programming that we can give to our students and just one more way to engage. So I don't know that it will necessarily be a requirement, but I think it's going to be a value add that we can continue throughout, whatever our new normal looks like when we come out of all of this. Who knows, we may have to do more social distancing in the fall. We don't know yet. We just don't know what this is going to look like. So having those plans and having that ready to go and roll back out at a moment's notice, I think is a good, it's a good thing to think about and a good thing to keep going with. But how much you do just will depend on how much your campus needs.
To answer the Zoom question, UTRGV again, there's settings that are available on Zoom behind the scenes. And so there's some great tutorial videos on that as well. Our fitness coordinator is personally admitting every person that comes into Zoom. So it is a link that's available. And so she's able to see our emails on there. So making sure that their student email addresses are UTRGV. We also partner up with our Texas Southmost College. And so we're looking for both of those. And then if she has a couple of guests, she's able to identify those. So she keeps her analytics behind the scenes by staying in those classes. But she'll admit everyone herself personally. And then she does the same requirements that we have here of everyone is muted automatically when they come in. They can't share their screens, any of those. So she's already created that behind just going through the Zoom trainings and kind of setting that up.
Awesome, thank you. Another technique for making sure that the people that are in your classes are supposed to be in your classes that I've seen, I don't remember where, but they used IM leagues to have hold the classes, and then they would send out the link 15 minutes before the class started. That way you're limiting it that they already have to have, like you said, they have to have their whatever school.edu class email that you have, and that those people are signing it. And then you just kind of match the number of people that log in to Zoom, or sometimes it actually has the possibility of capturing those analytics as well, depending on what type of Zoom subscription you have, if you have a subscription. So you can get those participation numbers there. But definitely if you need to limit who's coming in, you can password protect it, or you could do something similar to that. In terms of esports, a lot of options out there I'm seeing. Some people have been sticking with IM leagues, something that students are familiar with. A very popular one I've seen recently is Mission Control. That's what we're using here at SNHU. Mission Control is great in the fact that it takes care of a lot of the rules and the structure for you. But I know there can be some barriers in setting it up, especially if there's costs associated with it.
Yeah, we're putting all of our esports together, mainly because of the costs. So we're providing, basically, we'll create the bracket, but they're actually going to have to play each other online themselves. So if they have a PS4, Xbox, they contact each other, they figure out a way to play, and then they tell us who won. But we are also looking at those kids that don't necessarily play Madden or FIFA. We still want them to participate. So we're still confused in regards to how do you create these private rooms for a Call of Duty, for a League of Legends. So that way you don't have them playing all these other people outside of your school. So that's what we're looking at. But yeah, we've heard about Mission Control.
All right. Yeah. So that is a good question. If there's any esports experts in here, definitely speak up and help us out. I know I have taken this time to learn a lot and really dive in head first. I helped do a stream the other night, which was weird to me. I am participating in almost all of our esports leagues, and I'm 0 for 5 so far. I think I led 1 lap in Mario Kart the other night. But it's definitely time for us to start to learn ourselves. But I would actually love to hear an answer to this as well. One resource that we've used, it may not necessarily help out with your the rooms per se, but just a format that you need to approve people to get in is Discord. It is It's actually similar to like Microsoft Teams or Slack, but specifically for esports. It's like a private, almost chat forum where you can have different rooms set up specifically for different games. And we use that here, and you can actually stream games through it. We are doing that Tuesdays and Thursdays with Jackbox party games where people can just drop in. It's a great way to socialize if you've never heard of it. They're pretty cheap games, and you can get a lot of people to play at a time. So I'd definitely check those out.
And I know there should be another esports roundtable hosted, I believe, April 14th, as part of the NIRSA Connect as well. One of the questions, actually, I'm going to pivot away from esports for just a moment. There was a great question by Judy Allen, and I'm going to let her, if she wants to, hop on and ask this, talking about prospective student days.
Hi, everyone. Just curious what other schools are doing for their prospective student day that their college or institution does. Obviously, being virtual, you lose that huge day where you can, make connections with incoming or prospective students in hopes that they'll deposit. And with the admissions deadline jumping to June 1 instead of May 1, how are other schools highlighting their rec programs, club sports, fitness, whatnot, so that you are helping to provide an anti-melt with the admissions office?
So this is Janice again. So I took some video before I left campus of obviously an empty rec center, which is kind of sad to highlight. But since we don't have any marketing students working right now, I'm slowly creating a video that we'll put on our website and share with admissions to share with students that ideally will highlight all of our programs and give them a slice of what it's about. I might, because I'm not too video savvy, just end up making it more like a presentation in a slide deck because I'm very good at that. But I think we just have to, what would we say to them if they were standing in front of us, and then take that information and create some kind of presentation and then share that with all of the right people so that those students are getting that info.
Couple other answers that are on here. I think I'm seeing over here in the chat. Let me scroll that up. What was the interesting one that I was seeing? Cindy Wright at Gettysburg was talking about having Zoom campus rec student leadership panels hosted by their admissions. Talk to us a little bit about that. That sounds, like a really interesting way.
Sure. We have something called Get Acquainted Day with our college, where of course it's all when the students come and the bands are playing, and we have in the field house, all the different intramural sports and club sports are set up. So we are just taking it all virtually, and our admissions office has put it on a calendar, and we're going to bring our club sport and our intramural sport leadership together and have them asking questions or answering questions for prospective students.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
We're seeing a lot of schools going to Zoom for this, and I think that's one of the best ways to do it. I know one of the things that was thrown around here is doing like a Q&A on like a Facebook Live. Our Facebook, like the class groups at SNU are very popular. I think almost more so with parents than with the students. But we're working on setting up opportunities to host a Q&A similar, like a short presentation, then a Q&A similar to what we would do in person, and giving people the opportunity to either submit questions beforehand or do it live during the Facebook Live is a great way to do it. But we also, right before we closed, our marketing staff had filmed a little bit just to try and get something out there if they were going to have to go to a virtual accepted students day, and recruiting events were all going to be that. So we have some kind of footage, but pulling from other things as well. We're pulling a lot of our old photography that we've used for intramurals and getting those out there. But whatever you have, people will usually take at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm seeing a lot of other folks that are saying they're using, like you said, Zoom, but they're also, they're creating videos, they're creating ways that they can still continue to connect with the students and get that information out there. So I think, it's an interesting process to think about that. Those are huge days, especially on our campuses, our smaller programs campuses. For us, I mean, those are coming up shortly, and we're working on a plan. It's not finalized yet, so I really don't even know what we're doing yet, but those are 2 days that are coming up here in April for us that are usually pretty big.
All right. One of the other questions we didn't get to last week, for those that are programming and offering prizes like intramural t-shirts, how are you getting that out to people? Are you sending them out now? Are you waiting? That's something we're dealing with. A lot of our prizes are coming up and we aren't sure if we're going to hold on to them and have students get them when they get back to campus in the fall, or if we're going to send them out once everything kind of calms down. Who's doing prizes, if you can do prizes, and how are you distributing those to the winners?
My name's Laura. I'm at University of the Pacific. For one of the programs I'm running, I got approval to get some cool prizes that weren't just intramural t-shirts or stuff we already had. So my plan, which I had to get specific approval, which was difficult from our purchasing department, was to order them all off of Amazon Prime and directly ship them to the people. So that was my justification that they kind of understood and got on board with, was in order to keep people engaged and keep people actually interested, to be able to say, hey, we're going to send this directly to you. They were on board with that. And then in terms of the stuff that we're doing that has like our IM swag or other swag that we already have on campus, we're kind of taking it like a step case by case of, are you a senior? We can mail this to you now. Or we'd like to hold it so you can come back and get it when you're on campus, and then just kind of work that out on a case-by-case basis to hopefully, because our institution's always been like, the last week or so has been struggling with, we need to give people a reason to come back, so we're kind of doing that in whatever way we can.
Yeah, that's kind of the trend I'm seeing in the chat is people are holding on to them if they're going to be returning, and then mailing them out if they're seniors once you're back on campus. I saw John Fay said getting workout equipment to students in the residence hall through RAs and housing coordinators. Can you talk a little bit about that? Is that like prizes you're giving out, or just clarify that for us?
Yeah, so we're actually in the middle of surveying our students on campus for our wellness center. And so part of that incentive is, especially for the students on campus, is when they participate, they get a yoga mat, a resistance band, and then some small other giveaway items that we have currently on campus. And so while students, the exception is the students that live on campus are allowed to be there, but students are not allowed to report to campus. And so I'll be going into the office or my supervisor went in, picked up all the equipment that got delivered, dropped it off with the housing coordinators at their office on campus. So then the RAs will pick it up, leave it actually at the front door of the dorms on campus, and then just message those residents and say, hey, I left your yoga mat and resistance band in front of your door. So again, trying to make sure that they're distancing them, socially distancing themselves properly and following guidelines, but using the resources that we already have on campus to get those, to get that equipment and to get those prizes out to those students that are participating.
Awesome.
Hey.
Thank you for sharing.
This is Ian Brown jumping in here from Texas A&M University, Kingsville. Although we're a mid-sized regional university, I feel like we're a startup again, newly installed here, just under a year, and down to one other full-time staff member. So just briefly talking about getting your stuff out and your prizes out, I just happened to reach out to our campus activities board, or our student activities group, and they are well versed in how to get prizes out to other students. They've already navigated a lot of these concerns they're navigating. In the state of Texas, Texas institutions have a particular hard time of getting out gift cards to students. And so with these esport competitions, one of the things we're looking at trying to do is give credit to their comparable platform, to their store, but we're running into that gift card issue. She's already navigating a lot of these issues for us. So if your institution's large enough and you have a campus activities board, I would recommend reaching out to them. One, because they've navigated this, but two, because a lot of the funding that they've set aside for their spring programs, they're getting large refunds. And so they're looking for ways, and they're looking for departments and programs that they can invest in. And it's been a boon to our resources and our programs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great thought too, is I think this goes in any time, but especially in these times, looking where you can partner and, different resources that you have available to yourself, to you on campus, and how you can collaborate and work together to make that student experience the best that you can. Like I said, even in not crazy times, that's always a good way to go about things, is to, partner with folks. And this might be a great opportunity to make a new partnership on campus that you would have never thought you could have made before or was available to you.
All right. Anyone else have any tips, ideas, questions about anything we've covered so far, or are we good to move on to the next couple topics we have?
And I think we can also open it up if anybody has questions in the chat too. Just throw those out there. We're trying to keep our eyes split between that and everything else. So if I'm looking a little cross-eyed, that's probably it. I wish I could hear everybody laugh at that bad dad joke right now. So.
One question that I know I saw in the chat earlier today and from last week, and something I'm curious of what people are planning about, is reopening and preparing for the summer. What plans do people have? I know here at SNHU, our facility is being used as a clinical flex area should hospitals need support. So we have the support of the National Guard in our facility, and once that space is shut down, if it is activated, we'll have third-party vendors coming in and cleaning everything. But for those who don't have that, I know that's something people are thinking about and concerned about. Have people started to think about that? What concerns do you have? What are you doing with your accessories, like foam rollers, bands? I've heard some schools are having people throw them away and purchase all new ones, which can be tough if you're having budget cuts. One comment I'm seeing is, due to COVID-19, we are wanting to purchase a new mat for the fitness floors. Yep, especially ones that will hold up and be easily sanitized. Yeah, that's something that we're looking at, just in general, for protection against any kind of bacteria or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we're looking at as well. We took, around the beginning of March is when, we started taking all of our stuff off of the fitness floor anyway, that might have, those kinds of surfaces that wouldn't, lend very well. But, for us, we're also trying to stay ahead of the game and, continue to clean when we're in there. We are allowed to have about one person in at a time as an essential employee. So we get a little bit of cleaning done, a little bit of disinfecting done. But we really are starting to plan out for really June 1 is kind of what we're looking at. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but that's kind of the date that I've put in my mind to at least get us a date to where we can kind of look for. And I think that's what we've all got to kind of think of is, okay, if everything was going to start up, when would it start up, and plan towards that date. So to that end, we're starting our scheduling. We're starting, potential contracts. Again, I think it's kind of like we were talking about, before we all hopped on the call, is we really don't know. And then it goes back to that fear of the unknown. We just don't know what this virus is going to do and how that's going to impact. So we've kind of got to make some decisions just based on what we know right now. So for us, we're planning on coming back June 1 and then getting all the cleaning done that week before, and really going back and sanitizing again, just to make sure that we have a safe environment for people to participate in.
Superintendent is given as much time as they need to report back, get staff trained, deep clean. That's great. That's awesome. If you don't mind talking a little bit about it, like, have you thought about like your summer staff and what your programs and your facility are going to look like? That's something we're starting to talk about now with our budgets. are we going to be able to afford to have summer staff? How's that going to affect our programming? We're a staff of 2 professional staff, and it's looking like at this point we may be running everything pool, fitness center, and intramurals or over the summer. So any feedback that people have on that, I'd love to hear it. Stony Brook doing classes online. We are also doing some our classes online, but we are unsure if we will be reopening. Right now, New Hampshire is at a stay-at-home order until May 4th. So after that, it's a lot of question marks for us, and it sounds like Stony Brook, you're in a similar, similar setting.
I know that at Denison, we probably will not have any academic classes over the summer because we don't typically have any academics over the summer at all. But yeah, we're under a stay-at-home order through the end of this month, which I kind of expect will maybe get extended by a week or 2. So, you know, we don't know what that means yet for us, and we're not sure, again, what mass gatherings and what that's all going to look like over the summer either.
Hello, everyone. Pat Kutcher from the University of Iowa. Right now, we are closed through the end of the spring semester, so it would be about mid-May if we would open up again. But tomorrow we have a Zoom meeting within the division where our new VP hopefully will be addressing some of these issues. And in our team meetings, we have discussed shorter hours, opening one facility at a time, making sure we have it staffed, and then, you know, keep adding on to it as we get employees. That's the biggest thing. Our summer academic classes are online as well. So students were sent home from campus right around our spring break. And when we got the call that everybody needs to leave campus unless it's critical needs, essential needs. And I was the one that was asking about the mats on the fitness floors, because the ones that we currently have, they're thicker, and they're not getting cleaned, even though our members, the gym wipes are there. It's the way the surface is, it's just not cleaning them really good. And so that's why we're looking at different types of mats. So if anyone has any suggestions, we've purchased aero mats before, but really the life on them, because they get used so much, that they get torn up a lot. So if anyone has any recommendations, just please put it in the chat room for me. Thanks, everyone. Nice to see so many smiles. And
okay, so thank you for patiently waiting.
Thanks, Pat.
I have checked here the flight with the United Airlines. And
some comments in the chat that I've seen. This is something I'm definitely going to check out. Cindy Wright shared it. She heard about it in a facility meetings. Something called Clorox 360, Green Sport Alliance, and Environize to help bomb spray for cleaning. That's definitely something I'm going to look into, see what options are there.
We've done something like that in our locker rooms. I'm not exactly sure if that was the exact product, but we've done something like that, and it's actually been pretty successful for us. It's worked pretty well, gotten a pretty good clean on the locker rooms, especially some of the varsity locker rooms, which, you know, varsity athletes sometimes tend to leave their stuff a little bit more strewn about and don't take as good a care of the locker rooms, but those have been really, really helpful for cleaning. You know, also looking at, you know, some of the plans for how do we reopen, when do we reopen. You know, a lot of folks are saying midsummer, end of summer, planning for fall. I think it's probably best. That's probably right. So
seeing at Adelphi that Linda is assuming that university may only allow revenue generating programs on campus, and the product was Clorox 360, right? Mm-hmm. But of course, it's back ordered, as most things are that are cleaning related right now. So hopefully we won't need that for a little while. But it was mentioned on a roundtable. Definitely, if this is something you're concerned about, check out some of the other facility roundtables going on, whether recorded or a live one that's coming up. NIRSA.org/motion is where you can find the full schedule. Rob Simmels is talking. We are making plans starting as early as June 1. But then what does July 1, August 1, and then fall semester look like? that's a tough question. We are essentially, like I said, always erring on the side of caution and planning ahead and seeing, you know, if this continues, we're basically trying to be ready for it. So everything we're planning are things that we can continue to do. Because I know this was a topic we talked about before of what do we continue once we, go back to our normal. But a lot of these programs just show that you are flexible. A lot of reasons people come to the recreation department for things is because we do so much. We're a little bit of athletics, we're a little bit of student affairs, we're a little wellness, we're a little everything. So the more of a wide variety of programs and areas you can touch on, the more valuable you are. So if you can provide services remotely, the fact that online schooling is becoming just a bigger trend in general, and that education at convenience is a big deal. If you can show that your program and your staff can handle doing that, that's going to be a huge value to your university in general. I know for us, I mean, we have a pretty big online community of learners as is, so it's big for us to be able to show that we can provide opportunities we have over 100,000 students learning online before COVID-19. So the fact that we are able to show that we can help provide recreation opportunities for them and actually incorporate them in it right now has been huge for us. And I'm getting emails from people that I never thought I would see other than just our big end of year meeting.
And I think, we're kind of on the other end of that spectrum from you. We're a small, 2,200 student liberal arts college, and, going remote and going to online is really kind of the antithesis of what it means to be, a liberal arts college. But really what this has allowed us to do is, show our students that it is possible, give them a little bit more of, that resiliency, and then also show, the administration, yes, we can do some more things online. It's not, it's not necessarily as scary or as non-liberal arts as, folks want to think, especially when it comes to fitness and wellness and that on-demand type of learning. So it's been a cool learning experience, I think, for our university, and I think it'll continue to be.
A question I saw pop up, and I definitely want to address it. Eric Vaughn mentioned, have any students reached out to you because of financial hardship and where they may lose housing? Are your universities still paying students? That's a great question, and it's great that you're focused on that. Here, our university is paying all students, especially work-study students, as well as work-study students, based on an average number of hours that they've worked so far this semester, and they're paying them until the end of the semester. And that's just a university-wide initiative that we were not, it wasn't a conversation. It's like, we're paying them no matter what. And then in terms of housing, that's definitely something that's come up a lot in conversations. And for the most part, it's been up to the university to help provide for them. So if you know of students, I would definitely recommend having them reach out to Res Life on your campus and see what options they have there. That's kind of what we've been told to do on our campus and other schools that we've talked to in our area that are having similar issues.
Here at Denison, we are actually not paying any employee unless they're actually doing, work for us. So one of the things that I have tried to do is find, some remote work options for, our students to be able to get them paid, especially the student leaders. Whether that is just reviewing manuals, helping, update our digital onboarding process. We've got, new student leader interviews coming up, so being a part of that process as well. It's just trying to be creative, give them some things that they'd normally be doing anyway, but things that'll help them, as they, graduate and get out into the real world as well. So.
All right, we got a couple minutes left. Is there any other questions that people have? We'd love to try and help out with at least one more if we can. But at this point, I do want to shout out to our council, any members that may be on. I know Rachel Finley was mentioned before. I heard Pacific earlier. Is Mark Falkenstein here? I'm not sure, but shout out to him. Who I'm blanking right now. Chris, help me out here.
Alicia Rosaro, she, I don't know if she made it on the call. She was having some pool issues, so she had to get in. Lisa Caldwell.
Ann Story.
Ann Story.
Pacific Northwest.
Mila Paget, rolling off with us this year. I still feel like I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing?
Rachel Finley, I believe.
Rachel Finley, yes. She's been a huge help in a lot of our conversations. But big shout out to them on everything that they've been working on and helping us. Definitely reach out to any of us on the council as a resource. We'd love to help out and have conversations, even if it's just a one-on-one Zoom. If you heard something that you want to hear again, my schedule is flexible-ish, depending on the day. But I'd love to talk some more. I'm sure Chris is the same. Any kind of social interaction I can get at this point. Look out for more stuff from us, other resources that we're working on, that we're excited to work on, that are hopefully going to be coming out soon, as well as any other roundtable that you can find through NIRSA. Definitely keep an eye out for that. Yes.
This is Christine Haluzik from NIRSA headquarters, and I did see in the chat that someone mentioned the pulse survey that we sent out yesterday via Pam's email, and we're going to see how it goes with just the response rates with these. If folks do seem to be interested in wanting to engage in these types of quick surveys, we're trying to make sure that there's something you can do within 5 minutes, hopefully. But I do see so many questions about student staffing and how people are trying to navigate that. And we know it's so fluid right now, but we are considering sending out the next survey just specifically about staffing and what people are able to do in terms of who they're paying, who they aren't, and what other resources they're able to provide to those students. So look for more of that coming. Granted, if we get enough interest in this first one, then we'll certainly look at doing more. Just to provide that resource to all of you. And we are breaking up the responses by segments. So we will, if there is enough responses, we will try to be able to show those by enrollment and by public, private, and 2-year, 4-year, so that people can get a sense of where they fit with their peers. So just be on the lookout for more of those resources. We're hoping to turn that data around by Monday and be able to get things out to everyone quickly.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So everyone, make sure you fill out that survey, check your email. Definitely help us out and help everybody else out, and the students and the profession. Chris, you have anything else right now?
No, I mean, I took that survey yesterday. It does not take that long. It's like, I think literally 9 or 10 questions. It was real easy to fill out. So make sure that you get that done. It really helps out, all of us as we're trying to navigate what we're going through right now and what we're going to be going through in the future as we get ready for that. Obviously connect with us on the Connect community, Small Programs Connect community through NIRSA. You can sign up for that right off of your login page when you go out to your profile. So find us if you're not already engaged there. We usually have a lot of great discussions going on there. One of the things that we did talk about at the end of the session last week was, identifying some folks, famous or not, that have, really come through in a time of crisis like this. And I don't know if you have anybody, Andrew, but I've got at least one, and hopefully some other folks will take this activity and kind of, do it if you didn't do it already.
Yeah, Chris, I'd love to hear if you're willing to share.
Yeah, I'll share, just one that, really spoke to me. Back in my hometown of Anderson, Indiana, one of the local distilleries, they moved from making, their drinks to making hand sanitizer. But not only that, they're taking all that hand sanitizer they're making and they're donating it to the local fire station, the hospitals, the schools, and all of that in their community. And through that, they were actually able to start working with a local glass company that's providing the jars for it now. Local trucking and shipping company now that's actually distributing it. So, to me, that's just, community helping community. And that's what we need to be doing right now. And that's what I kind of look at these, roundtables as, is community helping community. So, let that be a good, story to take you out for the rest of the day. Try this activity if you haven't done something like this before. It's a lot of fun, and it really makes you grateful and really, think about the positives that are going on in life right now, because we need a little bit more of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for signing on. Make sure you stay tuned for all the awesome opportunities coming up. Fill out the survey. Reach out to any of us if you need anything, any of the committee members. I mean, the way everyone has been sharing resources has been great. So reach out to your peers, your colleagues, people you've met in the past, or maybe you haven't met before. This is your chance to meet someone new virtually. So take advantage of that opportunity. But thank you, everyone. Hopefully we'll see you again sometime soon.
Thank you.